Hi everybody, welcome back to Raw Food Philosophy on YouTube. In this video, I'd like to talk about making a paradigm shift in how we think about food. I think our culture broadly needs to make a paradigm shift or have a new conceptual framework for how we understand food and nutrition. And this comes from my experience trying a raw food diet, a very high raw food diet, and seeing how things work kind of once you're in the new paradigm and once you're in the new framework. So, broadly, a paradigm is a conceptual model. It's a mental framework for how we understand a topic. And, there's been they talk about in science making a paradigm shift, or a paradigm shift will happen. You could talk about like Newtonian physics to quantum physics, or you could talk about like an Earth-centric, I think what's it called, a heliocentric model of the universe or of our galaxy or our solar system, I guess, to I'm probably going to use the wrong terms. Maybe it is a heliocentric, like to the new paradigm where we believe that everything travels around the sun, from an Earth-centric to a sun-centric paradigm. I should have looked up those terms before I started recording, huh? But we need to make a change, and I believe that once you do make that change to a new mindset of a raw food mindset, a lot of things will start to make sense. And once we start thinking in terms of ideal foods, so I think like broadly that's the mindset we need to change towards, is what is an ideal human food? When we look at the world, when we look at our environment, what is presented to us in nature, in its natural form, as something we want to eat and something we are gaining nutrition from. And once we have that idea in our head of these ideal foods, and I've talked about ideal foods previously in a video on YouTube here, and also I talk about it in the course on Udemy. But once we have that framework of thinking about getting ideal foods, then things make intuitive sense. Like our appetites start to work in the right way, in the way our appetite's supposed to work. We can eat as much as we want. We can eat whenever we want, and we can eat foods that taste really good and never feel like we have to worry about overeating. And we can get all of our nutrition. We can get all of our nutritional needs met, all of our vitamins and our minerals and our proteins and whatever little way we break nutrition down, however people conceptualize that, we can get it all. We can get it all naturally and easily through natural foods, ideal foods, foods that we would find and eat in their natural form. So I really believe the more that I'm a little bit over a year and a half into kind of making a switch to a raw food diet, a very high raw food diet. And I really believe that once you make that switch in mindset, things just make intuitive sense and health and nutrition become very natural. And I think it's just the easiest way to maintain your health into adulthood. So, but you got to try it for yourself. Experience is the best teacher. You can read, you can study things in a book all day, but until you do it yourself, until you have firsthand experience, it's just going to be theory, and it's just going to be a head theory to you. And I think that once you do have that experience, in this case of changing to like a raw food diet, there's a certain sense of like speaking with authority on a topic that comes only through experience. And I really believe that once you make the change for yourself, you'll be able to kind of see through the maze of health and nutrition. And things can be very easy. So I encourage you to make that paradigm shift for yourself. Make a change in the way you think about food. Start thinking about what are ideal human foods. When we look in the world, what are the foods that we would find and eat in their natural form? What looks appealing to us? Make that the base of your diet. And see if I'm right. See if people who are kind of in this raw food lifestyle, the raw food diet and lifestyle, see if we're right about it. See for yourself. Test it out and see. So make that paradigm shift and see how it changes your own health.